engines need high-tech oils.
Today, round 4 of the Shannon's Nationals is completed at Winton Raceway with Porsche, Sports Racer and Formula Ford action. Then it's up to Queensland for more from the Books Winter Nationals, this time for Pro Stock cars and bikes. This is Speed Week. It's round 4 of the Shannon's Australian Motor Racing Nationals. And after leading the high-speed sweepers of Phillip Island, we've gone further north in beautiful Victoria, this time to Winton Raceway. Today, the battle for the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge intensifies as the series ticks over its halfway point. And though there are championships on the line, you get the feeling there's a little bit more at stake. This one-make battle of the German thoroughbreds. The Australian Sports Racing Series fronts for their second round of the year, and an ongoing battle for brand supremacy between West, headed up by Roger Jansen, and the Store Works team led by the experienced Adam Proctor. And finally, the Formula Fords are back for their second round. Another massive field packed with young racing talent, all looking to showcase their skills and chase a full-time career in the sport. Winton offers plenty of racing challenges. You'll see it all in today's coverage of the Shannon's Nationals.
Welcome to Winton Raceway for round 4 of the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge, and now at the midpoint of the season, competitors will need to draw on every strength and every skill for the results. The talking point today is how successful business in everyday life affects getting the results on the track. And Tim, we saw you out at Phillip Island Carrera Cup in the placings. How have you found that business supports your racing?
In some ways I find it the opposite. I find racing supports the business. In business you've got to be aggressive, you've got to make quick decisions and you've got to back the decisions. And in a race car you have to do that. So I find that coming away it allows me to clear my head from business, but also the things that you have to do, mind management that you have to do in a race car is very applicable to business, I think.
And Scott, in terms of you're a successful businessman as well. How do you not let business hinder getting the best results? Because it's a job unto itself, it's exhausting.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I actually a little bit opposite to Tim. I used to get away from a business to have a bit of a break. I've got a good business so it can run itself. But I think the sequencing of businesses I use in the racetrack. So for me, racing is corner 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and business is stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I actually use it kind of in parallel, I guess. But it's my break from being the CEO to go motor racing, so I can go and have some fun, and I don't have to wear a suit, a driving suit maybe.
Release some tension. In terms of the tactics today, what will be key for you?
Getting quicker. So this is my first time at Winton, so I've just been learning the circuit and getting the confidence.
And what about tactics your end?
Yeah, well, everyone has a target, and there's some guys a little bit further up the field from me or whatever, so I'm fairly competitive bugger. So, you know, there's a few names in a few sheds that way that I'm trying to get around.
Watch to see if these two get the tactics right as the second race of the Jim Richards Endurance Trophy is up for grabs.
Porsche and motorsport go hand in hand, and the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge presented by Pirelli has been one of the biggest success stories of the brand's long history in Australian motorsport. The GT3 Cup Challenge exists for several reasons. There's the opportunity for young drivers to gain experience, reputation before stepping into Carrera Cup or even going overseas. Featuring 3 classes covering the last 3 generations of the famous Porsche GT3 Cup car seen in Carrera Cup, these cars feature the famous Porsche Flat 6 engine, more than 400 horsepower, and all the close competition that the brand is renowned for producing. Oh, and there's that one other thing as well, that famous Porsche noise. After some wet and woolly wintry weather early in the weekend, the sun is shining on Winton Motor Raceway for race 3 in round 4 of the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Australia, presented by Pirelli. This has been a great championship so far this year. Fraser Ross leads the way going into this race, and he's looking to be the first driver to clean sweep around. That's Carrera Cup and V8 Supercar Enduro ace Warren Luff. Watching on from pit lane, Darren Smith alongside me for this. This is what happened in race 2. Fraser Ross won race 1 on Saturday night, I should say. This was race 2 earlier today, and dramas at turn 1 early, Daz.
Yeah, firing off there for Karadimos. That's not an ideal start, and a melee just out in the background there as we've got some of the less experienced GT3 Cup Challenge drivers spearing around there.
Michael O'Donnell with a late run, it must be said, into turn 1 and got into the back of the 2 car, Scotty Taylor, and fired him off. This was another look. You can see that action down there at turn 1. It's always busy. A couple of other cars caught up in there as well. Sigarides was turned around. The race got back underway, and after a brief start, and there was a fantastic battle for the lead, but once again, John Goodacre so good off the line right until the final corner. Big moment, and that allowed Fraser Ross to get by.
The drag race all the way to the line there, and a nice run there for the Fraser Ross entry.
That got him into the lead, having won on Saturday night, the second of 3 Jim Richards Endurance Trophy races. That then brought Peter Fitzgerald into the race as well, until this happened. Collision between Bradford and Shahin down at turn 3.
Big shame there, the Harrop branding on the side of the Bradford car. Great to see them back involved in motorsport. And HTFU, great signage on any racing car.
That brought out the Shannon's Nationals safety car for a brief intervention while those cars were recovered. There was a brief dash to the flag as well, and John Goodacre gave it everything he could, Daz, but Fraser Ross was just a little bit too strong.
Well, this became like a club sprint to the end, and each corner just getting him closer and closer to getting the result here this weekend. Of course, in race 1 last night, he got almost one hand on the Jim Richards Endurance Trophy.
Great race victory for Fraser Ross with Goodacre second. Those two celebrated a fantastic battle, and Fraser Ross was well pleased with that one.
Yeah, it was got the run on him. You just got to saw him get sideways. All I did was pull level with him and just hold the road. And I'm glad I did it. It wasn't much time for green racing, but pity that happened with the safety car for so many laps. Sorry, but that was good in the end to get the win.
Yeah, he's pretty happy, Fraser, and 2 race wins. No driver has won more than 2 races in a round so far this year. Fraser Ross has won 2 races in every round, but hasn't been able to convert to the clean sweep. So he really wants to get this one in the bag and win the 3rd and final race of round 4. We're right into the business end of the GT3 Cup Challenge Australia, thanks to Pirelli this year. But the man he's got to get through is driving exceptionally well. John Goodacre does so good off the line. He's going to be hard to beat into turn 1.
He has been, and for a good couple of seasons now, John Goodacre has been the one in the Gap Solutions car to watch off the start. I tell you what, though, with Warren Luff on the side of the McElroy racing team, those guys have got a distinct advantage with that racing head in their corner. Yeah, he plonks himself up on the hill between turn 2 and 3 and coaches the drivers the whole way through. Ross McGregor, the Southern Star, West Coast Windows Porsche, has had a solid weekend so far. We're underway in the final race at Winton, and as it has been all weekend long, Goodacre away smartly in the Gap Solutions Porsche, leads down into turn 1. That's Lochisano just elbowing out Matty Campbell for 3rd and 4th place. In a good battle. Fitzgerald back to 5th. It's busy in the mid-pack as we watch John McCorkingdale trying to work his way through the field. He has had a horrible weekend so far. It's almost as if Fraser Ross knew he was going to be second into the first corner then, because he angled straight across in behind John Goodacre. Such a good man on the clutch to get away from the line there. But now Fraser is right all over the back of John Goodacre and wants to push on through. Bright orange wheels really makes that car stand out. Probably 2 of the best presented Porsches in any Porsche category in Australia, Carrera Cup or GT3 Cup Challenge, those 2 at the front. There's John Karatinos. He's been on the podium so far this weekend. Unfortunately got caught up in that drama down at turn 1 on the start of race 2, so he has to work his way through the field. The South Australian having a breakout season, just his 2nd year of full-time car racing. Here's Ross. Cole Pirelli's 390, 400 horsepower out of the Porsche 997 GT3 Cup cars, new to GT3 Cup this year. And there's a very experienced ex-Carrera Cup driver right in behind these guys. So if they trip at all, Michael Lochisano in the Hallmark Properties car will be all over these guys. Just on this opening stanza, he hasn't been able to match the pace of these 2 guys. And the Pirelli tyres, although they're very happy with them, it's a couple of laps to get them up to that ultimate speed. And then they're getting great life out of them. Yeah, quite a hard tyre. See, this is a busy little battle pack here, isn't it? With Peter Fitzgerald in the thick of the action. Matty Campbell driving down the inside. He's in the
2007 spec 997 GT3 Cup car. Less horsepower, less grip, just like the old model car. He's running in Class B, driving exceptionally well too, it must be said.
He's been proven to be a young man to watch, that's for sure. Keep an eye out. I think his time here in the GT3 Cup Challenge might be brief, and we'll see his name up in bigger lights, I would suggest, in the future, pretty much like Richard Muscat, who won this series last year.
That 98 car, there's Trent Young, who cops the hit from Caratinos at turn 7 and just holds on to his position. Former sports sedan race winner in the National Sports Sedan Championship in a Mazda RX-7. This car owned by Stephen Voigt. Stephen said to Trent, if you go win a race, as we have a look at this contact, if you win an Aussie Racing Cars race at Barbagallo this year at the V8 round a couple of weeks ago, I'll stick you in my Porsche at Winton. That's pretty good motivation to drive a Porsche. He won the race, that's why he's in the car, and he's really in the mix this weekend, driving very well.
Well, when any young driver gets the carrot dangled underneath them, you have a look at this commitment from Fraser and working at the wheel there, so he is well and truly in the attack zone now on John Goodacre. Pulls out, not close enough under brakes as they dive into turn 1.
It's a good battle, and even better for Goodacre, given he crashed this car quite heavily right at this spot here in practice on Friday. Very, very heavy rain. Went out, had a big moment, short back inside in the car, front and rear damage, and it's still not perfect. They did a big job repairing that, Ash and the team that looks after this car, but he said it's still not perfect. He's having to drive it very, very hard to keep it going in a straight line.
Oh, and aren't we the benefactors of that, because he is driving very hard out in front right now.
Good onboard shots from Michael O'Donnell's Porsche, running 14th. He's a newcomer to Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge.
Gee, these pictures will be invaluable as far as coaching for him over the next little while, going into the next round for the GT3 Cup Challenge.
Have a look at this fight. Just relentless pressure between these two. They are driving at a very high level, and they have done so since the start of the season. Should spare a mention for the dial before he did race, John McCorkindale has had an absolute horror weekend so far. He would be in this fight. His pace has been sensational. As of this season, he's working with the Buick Motorwork crew, who have looked after plenty of successful GT3 Cup Challenge campaigns. And the car going very well. John driving it well, but luck has not been with him this weekend.
Ross McGregor, ex-Commodore Cup driver, and successful at that, so it's only a matter of time before he starts pushing his way to the top end of this field as well for Southern Star Windows. Around the last part of the lap here at Winton Motor Raceway. Beautiful day, bathed in sunshine. Air temperature's still quite cool, but the track temperature's getting up into the low 20s now, so these guys will just get faster and faster as this race goes on.
He qualified 11th in the qualifying session on Saturday. Was 14th in race 1, the Jim Richards Enduro Trophy on Saturday evening, as Ross has a big look down the inside of Goodacre, but John closes the line and holds on to the race lead. The battle for the lead intensifies. So this is a great fight. To finish my point on Ross McGregor, went a lap down in the Jim Richards Enduro race, but was running in sort of 8th or 9th position on the road with guys at the front of the field. So he's got plenty of pace, getting more experienced in the Porsches after plenty of time in Commodore Cup. This is a fantastic race though.
Yeah, these guys really are not leaving any corner unturned at the moment. Have a look at this attack by Fraser. He has absolutely got the lights on. He's ducking left and right, looking down the inside, looking around the outside. All in the meantime, well, John Goodacre is nursing this car, albeit in first place, Richard. He's still nursing it, but driving it like he's stolen it.
Yeah, look, it's good. They did a big job repairing it. It was a 2 a.m. finish for the team on Friday night, Saturday morning. The car's good, don't get me wrong, but it's not perfect after the hit it got on Friday. Quite a big impact. So John is driving well, but Ross relentless with his pressure. Can Goodacre hold him out, or can he get a clean sweep for the first time this season?
Interestingly, we're talking about Ash Seawood, who presents that car and does work on it as well. Guys like Toby Kay that have got much experience in Carrera Cup, all starting to show an interest in this category, being that they race these cars on Carrera Cup over the last few years. So bringing that knowledge to the track in the GT3 Cup Challenge is very important.
The Ross partnership car, Porsche Brighton on the bottom, jams it down the inside. That's a huge move. Right on the ragged edge of getting it stopped, but managed to pull it off, and Fraser Ross goes in front.
Nice move there. textbook type of move there. He's been setting him up there, and John has been able to put the car across in front of him, and I would suggest that John at that point just went right. Well, he's got it right up the side of me this time. I cannot shut the door like I have done for about the last 4 laps.
Yeah, and John almost got the car turned in, but great awareness. Watch this. Down the inside, Goodacre had committed to getting that car into the apex, but full credit to both these drivers. Racing room given. Is that a bit of a shake of a head there from Fraser Ross? Just perhaps.
The last time round on the main straight when we were on board with Fraser, wiped his brow, so he's been sweating. He's been working pretty hard out there.
Yeah, that was a big move, huge commitment, and great respect shown between the two for given racing room. This is a feisty little battle pack. Matt Campbell in the middle, chasing the 10 car of Michael Lochisano. By the way, we've just started the final lap, and Fraser Ross, now he's in clear air, has just broken the lap record at Winton. Bangs out a 25.5. And here is McCorkindale putting one on Peter Fitzgerald.
I tell you what, when you uncork a champion driver, that's what they do. Second last lap of the race. Got a very hot set of Pirellis under him after chasing all race long, and then just fires out a fastest lap. That is fantastic stuff.
This is a good fight. Matt Campbell leading the Class B standings. He's been superb this year. The young Queenslander from Warwick. Granddad Bill runs Morgan Park Raceway. Looks down the inside on Lochisano. Almost a replica of the move we saw for the lead just a lap ago. And they'll run side by side past the Gumtree.
I love it. That is a commitment move from a young man next to, I suppose, a wily veteran there in Michael Lochisano.
Oh, he's going to get it done too. Great sequence of racing, a lot of side-by-side, a lot of racing room given, and that gets Matt Campbell to third outright. Really good drive by the young Queenslander. So too for the young Victorian out in front, Fraser Ross. It's all been going his way this year, but hadn't had the perfect weekend. He has now. Checkered flag is Fraser's. He sweeps round 4 of the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge presented by Pirelli.
Nice work there. Here come the guys chasing it out for the minors here. Big charge at the line there. Peter Fitzgerald mixed up in this mob.
And McCorkindale too, trying to get one on Fitzy and can't quite get there at the line, but Fitzgerald drops the spot, we're told, because of a 5-second penalty for a start line infringement. So he drops to 6th, Trent Young 7th. Sam Sheehan, credit to the HTFU driver. He worked his way back into the top 8 after the dramas. But well done to Fraser Ross and John Goodacre. That was probably one of the Porsche races of 2014.
That was a great race. That's what race is all about. Close, clean, much better than the other two. Makes up for the especially the one this morning. And to get the move on him, the dying stage of the race was fantastic. And come away with a clean sweep, can't ask for much more.
Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, obviously Matty had trouble in the first race, and I probably wouldn't have got anywhere near him otherwise. But it's great to get my first round win. Really enjoyed it.
Well, he's got a handy lead in the championship standings now as well, Fraser Ross, with Goodacre second. And despite that tough round, John McCorkindale still sits in third in front of Peter Fitzgerald. Matt Campbell going very nicely in front of the B-class standings. Pirelli presenting the trophies here at Winton Motor Raceway to a very happy podium. Fitzy on there in the Class A standings, and well done to our Class B winners for the weekend too. That's the Porsches. After the break, the Australian Formula Ford Series hits Winton Raceway as our coverage of the Shannon's Nationals continues. Australian Formula Ford has a history in Australia that dates back to 1970 and a list of champions and graduates that form a who's who of both Aussie and world motorsport. Names like Perkins, Larkham, Ingle, Lowndes, Richardson, Bright, Davison, Power, and yes, Mark Webber. And the list goes on. The revamped Australian Formula Ford Series joins the Nationals full-time in 2014 with a host of new teenage stars trying to find their place in the motorsport landscape. The racing is guaranteed to be close, hugely competitive and intense, as young stars of racing's future try and find their spot in the racing world. As nimble, quick open wheelers, it's true, Formula Ford is back with a bang.
The The reborn Australian Formula Ford Series welcomes another strong showing this weekend, and with Winton the home track of testing for the majority of competitors, confidence won't be in short supply. Jordan, for you, it's good that you've got a great manager behind you, a lot of expertise. How valuable do you find it?
Very valuable. Without that knowledge and expertise, we wouldn't be as high up in the championship standings as we are after the first round. But yeah, it's definitely an advantage that we can take on to each race meeting.
But it's good to have the knowledge, but translating it to the track isn't always easy. How do you find it?
It's always difficult, but with 3 years of experience from myself, still as difficult as it was when I first started. But yeah, it's definitely always plays on your mind what you've been told before each session. So
almost a skill unto itself. The competitors know the track well, but it doesn't mean they'll get the results if they're going to come unstuck. Where will it be?
Definitely in the heavy braking areas. So. Which is most likely the passing places for everyone, especially where the most pressure is put on, especially during the racing. But yeah, anywhere it's possible. But yeah.
Track knowledge is important, as is a good mentor, but there is a strong lineup all vying for points, and that means tough racing.
Very tough racing in Formula Ford Summer. I'm joined in commentary for this by Formula Ford racer Icky Harrington. Welcome to you. This has been a good weekend so far. We're coming up to race 3. This is the one that counts.
Yeah, thanks. Good to be here. I'm really excited about the start of this race. Track's looking a little bit warmer for this race, and it was pretty cold this morning, and the conditions were tricky, so a bit more heat into the track this afternoon. Looking forward to a good race.
Yeah, you can see them going side by side to warm up the Avon control tyre. They run in Australian Formula Ford round 2 of the series that kicked off at Malala back in April. On boards through this field, Hamish Hardeman will be a contender. This is what happened earlier on today. Race 2, watch the red 94 car. Jordan Lloyd, the Queenslander, 3rd to 2nd. And at turn 1, he went to 1st, and that was where the race was won.
And that's just an amazing launch that Jordan's got off the line there from 3rd to 1st, and leading the way into the turn 1, really sets himself up for the race here.
Real dramas for Christian Marina. The youngster just fired the car off at turn 1 but would recover. This was a fantastic fight for much of the race between Liam McAdam and Tom Gretsch. They battled it out for positions in the bottom half of the very competitive top 10.
On board here with Hamish Hardeman from the Team Sonic in the McGale. In front of him is teammate Nick Rowe, the young WA 15-year-older.
Nick's been pretty good this season, hasn't he? He's been very fast. Cameron Hill, the 11 car, was in the thick of the action in this. This was a great battle, one of real interest in this race. But in the end, no one could topple Jordan Lloyd, and it all came down to the race start. He said at Malala he got a taste of leading. This time he converted it into a race victory and took out race 2 of the Australian Formula Ford Series.
Oh yeah, no, really good. It was tough at the start, but kept the head down and managed to pull a bit of a gap by the end. So yeah, tough race.
So that was a very happy race 2 winner. The cars are getting set for a start in race 3. So Jordan Lloyd, his first ever race victory in Australian Formula Ford. And Nicky, they often say once you've won one race, winning the next one it gets a little bit easier. So I guess this is the true test of that.
This racing, it's a massive psychological game, and once you get a win under your belt, it really boosts your confidence, and you can carry that on into the rest of your racing then.
Jordan's been very good all weekend. Won race 2. This is the finishing order of race 2, sets the starting grid for race 3. But earlier on in the weekend, Jordan got pole in qualifying by 0.07 of a second over Thomas Randall. Randall went on to win race 1 ahead of James Golding, with Lloyd 3rd. And of course, we saw Jordan make that great start in race 2 and charge his way to the front. So ready for the final race in round 2 of the Australian Formula Ford Series at Winton. Hamish Hardeman's ready. We're ready and we're underway, and it's another good start from Jordan Lloyd. He is unbeatable off the line this weekend. Leads this big field of 20 cars down into turn 1. He's clear in front, but it's feisty for the Miners. Side by side there for 2nd and 3rd place. Randall 4th, he's in the mix as they sort themselves out down to turn 3.
Again, that's another amazing launch for Jordan Lloyd off the start. Got himself into turn 1 with a couple of car lengths space there, which is unusual. And again, he set himself up perfectly for this race.
Yeah, great start, and it's so important to have track position early. There's a fight going on for 3rd place. Nick Rowe and Tom Randall side by side, nose to tail as they run up into turn 6 and 7 for the first time. Cars sliding around, cold Avon tyres, but everyone's done a good job on this opening lap to get through. Matty Rosler with a big slide there, the Adelaide driver who's made the trek over. But impressive stuff for the 94. The Toowoomba driver has got out in front nice and early.
Yeah, Jordan's doing a great job, as we've seen all weekend so far. He got pole position, earned that point for the championship there, and then won race 2 this morning. You can see that the tyres are still really cold. There's not much track temperature in the surface today, and even though it's bright and sunny, but the track is actually cold, and you can see the car squirming around a lot there.
Down the inside goes Randall.
Beautiful move there.
Gets third place away. It was a beautiful move. Very nicely judged. That quintessential Formula Ford rear end sliding round 2 on the braking. It's great fun to watch.
If these cars aren't moving around a bit, you're actually not driving them fast enough. You know, they have to be on that limit to extract the speed out of them.
So Nick Rowe back to 4th place, the Sonic Motor Racing driver, running a similar sort of livery that last year's national champion Anton Di Pasquale ran. He's gone off to Europe and doing great things in Formula Renault over there. He's been very impressive and showing the talent that Formula Ford produces. On board with Hardman.
Yeah, Hamish Hardman came into this round in 2nd position in the championship, and he's looking fairly strong here, looking to make a move on his teammate. Great pictures on board here, but this track is really difficult to pass on. If you're in front, all you have to do is drive nice, clean defensive lines, and you've got to make it really hard for the person behind to work their way around you.
I think the other thing we notice is we have a look at this great move by Randall on the bumpy side of the road to the inside of turn 11. The other thing is, this is a Victorian racetrack, and on a lot of the series based in Victoria, so everyone's going to be very equal here because they all come up and do the Friday test days. You've got to make you wonder what the Queenslanders doing out in front. They go and test at Queensland Raceway, but Jordan Lloyd really beating the locals at their own game at the moment.
Well, yeah, I know the Melbourne teams, they do a lot of testing up here, and they should have local knowledge, but it's the Queenslander who's out in the front right at the moment, which is going to set it up for an interesting next round, which is at Queensland Raceway on his own track.
Yeah, full of confidence too. After at least one race win, he's now out in front of the second. This is a great fight. A little bit further back, the 97 Coates Hire Cars, Liam McAdam in front is the Canberra driver, Cameron Hill, and Hamish Hardiman in the 3. We've seen a bit of him in the thick of the action too. So battle for the top 5 at the moment, and they're fighting their way up to turn 7. So 4th place is Nick Rowe. McAdam down the inside, backed the car into the corner, and Cam Hill was lucky there, gave him racing room and avoided a collision.
Yeah, couldn't quite make the move stick, but it was spectacular as he backed it into the corner there. It was plenty of action there. This is really where the battle is for this race. The guys out in front have got a couple of car lengths each, and the battle is back here between Cameron Hill and Liam McAdam in their Megales.
Yeah, lots of Megales in this field too. Here's another look. Just grabbed the rears going in, flicked the car into the corner. And Cameron Hill, I'm not sure if it was good luck or good judgment, but there was a car width on the inside and no collision.
Yeah, and again, we've had really clean racing this weekend in Formula Ford. Usually it's the place where you've got young, hot chargers who often have a bit of contact and a few incidents, and we're just not seeing it this weekend. Good mature driving.
Yeah, absolutely right. That was a real-time look at 1st and 2nd on the road and back through to this battle for 6th, 7th and 8th position, the minors. A little bit further back, Jake Parsons in the 27 car from the Synergy Motorsport squad. Christian Marina still working his way through the field in the 3rd of the Sonic Motor Racing entries. They've been quiet this weekend, the Sonic trio.
Yeah, to be honest, they're not going to be happy with it.
No. Well, Mick Ritter won't be anyway.
They strive a lot harder than these results. So, yeah, there could be a few serious words after this weekend, see where it went wrong for them. But we're not seeing much of the guys out the front. Jordan Lloyd, he's sort of cleared out, and James Golding, our championship leader, he's not getting much vision as well because they're out the front doing things best.
Yeah, Jordan was pretty pleased with that race 2 victory as well. I spoke to Brett Francis, who runs that car. Brett was one of the best in Australian Formula Ford for a long time, right at the very front. And he raced and beat guys like Will Power and Will Davis in Australian Formula Ford at a national level. Brett's running this car for BF Racing for Jordan Lloyd, and said to him after Malala, where Jordan led a lot of race 3, but just surrendered a position with a couple of laps to go. Brett came up to me and said he's got a taste of it now. He won't make that mistake again, and sure enough, he didn't. When he got in front, he did the job in race 2.
No, he's looked really strong. Like you said, you get one race win under your belt. It builds that confidence. Brett knows how to prepare a Formula Ford really well, and the results are, as you can see. We've got James Golding in the locally built Spectrum just closing up a little bit here on Jordan at the moment. So we'll see if we can make a race out of this as we can wind down the laps.
Yeah, so good pressure now on our race leader. Golding's driven very well. Superstar in karting for so long, James Golding, and stepped into Formula Ford recently. He's been fast. And this is the battle of the French-built Miguel chassis between the Aussie-built Spectrum. And James Golding doing the job for Spectrum because there's not many of them in the top 10. You have to go back to Jake Parsons running the bottom half of the 10. He's the only other Spectrum in the 10 at the moment, dominated by Miguel's, but he's showing that they can be competitive and really putting the pressure on our race leader.
Yeah, doing a great job there. Just a bit of a battle going on for the minor placings. That's James Crozier and one of the Synergy cars battling it out there.
Caitlin Wood in the 20. Caitlin, the only female racer in the field this year. She's been pretty competitive, running almost inside the top 10 this weekend at Winton Motor Raceway. So getting closer and closer to the front. In fact, qualified 12th. 2 seconds off pole, but if she'd found half a second, she would have been inside the top 8. So that shows how close the midfield is.
And we're seeing Caleb make a change of teams and cars this year. So she's stepped into the Spectrum and with Synergy Motorsport, so she's going to have good support behind her, and we hope to see her moving up through the grid as the season goes on.
Synergy, one of the top teams in Australian Formula Ford for a long time, noted for their relationship with the Spectrum chassis, but they've been very, very strong.
Nothing much between it though, as they cross the line. So James Golding's really closing in and starting to put the pressure on Jordan Lloyd here. This is where it all counts for Jordan. He's just got to concentrate on what he's doing, not get too wound up in watching his mirrors. Look for his reference points, make sure he hits all of them, and basically keep it clean, not make any mistakes. He makes a slight slip up now. James Golding's just going to get straight through.
Yeah, the big question is, can we have 3 different winners from 3 races? We should mention, we just saw a quick shot of Tom Randall. He was superb in race 1, did the business and got a race win. Here's Golding, looks to the outside, the change of direction at 6 and 7. But Lloyd is up to the task in defending his lead so far.
And as mentioned earlier, it's quite easy to defend here at this circuit, and you could see just the places where Jordan is positioning the car and the braking zones. He's just moving sort of central of the track, making it hard for the driver behind to actually get past. And that's spot on. That's exactly what he needs to do right now.
Now, if we're at Phillip Island, there's every chance that Golding would have been passed and gone because that's a slipstreaming track, but the straights here just aren't quite long enough, are they?
They're not long enough for the to get the slipstreaming effect and get a tow, get the slingshot out and make the move. So that's why it makes it easier to defend your position.
We'll have some of those tracks in the second half of the season. Queensland Raceway in particular should be pretty feisty for these cars as we get the 1 lap to go sign. Lloyd holding on. Can he do the double? If he finishes first or second, he will win the round. So he can afford to lose a position to James Golding, but he won't want to. He'll want the race win to go with a round victory.
Well, you've also got to consider the championship as well, because as Golding sits in second place here, he's going to be extending his lead. So, Jordan needs to beat him in order to start closing that lead.
Because I am theorising that a racing car driver would think about other things than winning a race, which we all know is unrealistic. So Golding has one last roll of the dice. If he can stay here, he'll be in shape, but he just gets squeezed a little bit wide. And Jordan Lloyd holds on to the lead. That was a smart move by Golding. He knew Lloyd would defend on the inside, and if you hang around the outside there, it gives you the inside run for the Gumtree corner, but Lloyd was just a little bit too wide out of the corner.
No, it was smart driving. He could have tried to hang out there, but he inevitably would have ended up in the dirt. It could have been contact, it could have been 2 DNFs for him, so it's really smart driving.
Yeah, from both parties, and Golding, as you said, has got a championship to worry about. Like this guy, he came into the weekend without a pole or a race victory or a round win to his credit. He got pole on Saturday, he got a race 2 victory earlier on today. He'll back that up with the victory in the finale of round 2. That gives him the round win as well. Jordan Lloyd for BF Racing takes the checkers here at Winton Motor Raceway. Great drive. Good pressure from James Golding the whole way through. Really well driven between the two of them. great young talent at the front of the field. And Tom Randall, he got a win on Saturday and finishes third and on the podium. Nick Rowe, Hamish Hardman, McAdam, Hill and Jake Parsons rounded out the top 8 in an entertaining third race for the Australian Formula Ford Series.
Oh, definitely, I'd have to say my starts were the thing that got me these race wins today. But yeah, definitely a mix between myself and a good car setup from my team. So.
Yeah, it was a really great weekend. Come here to get some awesome points for the championship, and I'm still leading so far. So it was a really great weekend. Good racing with these guys. Thanks to Formula Ford and all the guys that helped make the weekend possible. Avon Tyres, Castrol Edge, all them sort of guys. And also like to thank Gippsland Bodybuilders for all their support, True Blue Electrics, Arrow Helmets, Ball on the Spectrum, awesome team, and True Blue Electrics as well.
A great race meeting, and James Golding in front of the Australian Formula Ford Series after 2 rounds, with Lloyd second and Thomas Randall third, Hardman fourth, and all of those guys, you've got to say, are championship contenders. I need to say a special thanks to Avon, Ferodo Brake Pads, Castrol and King Chrome Tools, who've jumped on board to support Australian Formula Ford from this round onwards. Great support from sponsors in Australia's young development racing categories. We're going to take a break from Winton. When we come back, the sports races hit the track here at the Shannon's Nationals. The Australian Sports Races Series is an exciting new series that joins the Shannon's Australian Motor Racing Nationals for the first time in 2014. With spiritual links to the hugely popular sports car racing scene of the 70s and 80s, these Le Mans prototype-style sports cars offer scintillating performance, amazing dynamics and spectacularly close racing. All cars, made by a host of different brands, are designed to maximise aerodynamic performance and weigh just 400 kilos. Powered by high-tech, production-based motorcycle engines revving to 13,500 RPM and lapping circuits quicker than V8 supercar pace, these rockets are going to grab your attention from both behind the wheel and in the grandstands.
A front-runner of the Australian Sports Racer Series, Adam Proctor, will be looking to go one better after coming second at Malala last time out. You're behind the wheel, Adam, of the store. How do you hope to do it?
Yeah, we're looking strong. We've had a good preparation. We've done our homework since round 1 with the new control tyre, and I think we've been able to find our issues that we struggle with at round 1, and I think we'll definitely look good this weekend.
And what's the difference between the store and the West? There's a lot of question marks there. What do you prefer?
Well, they're both built in the US. Obviously, we prefer the store. We've won the last 3 championships in the store. It's got the runs on the board. It's been reliable. It's been strong. It's got a really good aero package. We've developed the areas that we thought weren't strong enough, and we've made them better for this season. And I think we can definitely take it to the West on a more regular basis.
So statistically good, but we've seen James Winslow do well in the West. Is there anything about its construction that you do envy?
No, like I said, it's sort of hard to say. I mean, having a driver like James in the car, I mean, helps like them get the results, I guess. He's a professional. I mean, he's a very talented driver. I mean, when we beat him, it makes us look really good. And if we come second to him, we still look good, I guess, because obviously he's right up there in the pedigree of what he's done in the past. So I guess that is the one thing that we don't know. When we get some drivers of equal ability, we might one day work out which is the best car to have. But I believe what we do with our car against our opposition is really good.
It will be interesting to see the part that mechanics play this weekend. What we do know is that Adam, James and all the drivers in the lineup will be ruthless in giving their best.
The Australian Sports Races Series cars rolling out for their third and final race of the second round of their 2014 series here at the Shannon's Australian Motor Racing Nationals at Winton Motor Raceway. A fascinating season opener at Malala had Roger Ianson, the young South Australian driver from Waikerie on the coast, get the checkered flag and get the initial round victory. But there's a lot of pressure from behind. Adam Proctor in the store going very well, second in the championship. Mark Short third. And race 1, Daz, of this weekend was an exciting fair as well. There was plenty going on.
Certainly was. Unfortunately, Mark Short in the Prince, the only Prince currently competing in Australia, which I believe comes from South Africa, not here this weekend. As they jumped underway, Adam Proctor, a little bit of wheel spin off the start, but that saw Roger Ianson down to turn 1.
Yeah, and Proctor's dramas would get worse from there. McInnes looking down the inside, but that was all Proctor locking a brake, fired the car off into the undergrowth. at turn 1 and 2, and that dropped the number 1 driver, the defending champion, right to the back of the field. The field sorted themselves out with the two Wests leading the way as Proctor began a mighty charge from behind.
Certainly did. The Store is his car. He's the man in Australia for these products. Covered in mud down the side there. That's not what you want to see. This is Mark Lauke, retirement in this race. Unfortunately, the South Australian off to the side of the road there.
Down the inside of John Paul Drake was a big move by Proctor, and then he continued to put one on and worked his way through the field. So big move on the number 2 car of Darren Barlow. That's the second of the Store teams, the teammates out of AP Racing. No one could stop Roger Ianson though. He got the victory after his great form at Mallala Motorsport Park, but Adam Proctor broke the lap record on the final lap of the race.
Serious looking race car these. Race 2 highlights now. Let's see how they get away. Again, it's Roger Ianson, but he's just caught there by Aaron Steer off the line. And Andrew McGuinness, also brand new to this category, of course, been racing in Australian GT over the last couple of years, really enjoying the nimble aspect of these little races.
Yeah, he was the next one to feel the speed of Adam Proctor though, who just sent one down the inside at turn 1 and got himself onto a potential podium finish. Ianson was out in front and once again dominated this race, but the battle was on for second and third between Aaron Steer and Adam Proctor. It was a great fight. It lasted plenty of laps, but in the end, as Proctor was just too good.
He certainly was. There he is there, charging up the inside, just peeking over the number 1 plate there after taking last year's title. Great to see these cars as part of the Shannon's Australian Motor Racing Nationals.
No one could stop Roger Ianson. He reset the lap record for the second time in a day and took the checkered flag, with Adam Proctor getting himself on the front row for the final race of the weekend, a storming drive to second place.
Roger, 2 from 2, not bad for someone who hasn't had much track time here.
Yeah, it's great. We had wet weather when we arrived, so not a lot of us got too many laps in the dry, and everyone seems to be getting the hang of it, and yeah, my car's gone really well. We had a good setup since we first started, so yeah, really happy.
Well, there were just 3 1,000ths of a second between the West and the Store chassis. Roger Ianson and Adam Proctor in qualifying on Saturday. Proctor's dramas in race 1 have dropped him out of that leading fight, but finally, Daz, we've got the 2 of them together on the front row for the final race of the weekend here in the Australian Sports Racer Series. They're running a Control Kumo tyre, and this should be a competitive race. Aaron Steer has shown plenty of form. He's been fast this weekend. Andrew McInnes on his debut in the category. His experience in the GT cars has certainly helped the cause as well. We're ready for a start. Final race in round 2 of the Australian Sports Racer Series. And they're away. Difficult cars to launch, but Roger Ianson has got it down pat. He leads into turn 1. The Store of Adam Proctor slots into second place.
Aaron Steer also riding there in the Sportsmed car, and we've got Andrew McGuinness in there as well. He is driving the car that was driven at round 1 by James Winslow, and acquitted himself very well. A lot different to the GT cars. They're a lot twitchier, he said, a lot more responsive at the wheel, being that they are so light, these cars.
And as we race here at Winton, that man Winslow, who's had plenty of laps in these cars in the past, is over at the Le Mans 24 Hour making his first start in the famous race in France. So best wishes to James.
Certainly all the crew down at West Race Cars Australia are keeping one eye on the track here and one eye on what's going on over in France this weekend. But Roger Ianson, opening lap, has already got himself a handy little lead. It's Proctor, back to Steer, McGuinness, and these guys are the ones that were running at the front earlier on in the weekend and continue to do so.
So this is the battle for second and third place. This car owned by Touring Car Masters racer Greg Keane, currently on the market, but they've done a deal to get Aaron in that car to continue getting some laps, and Aaron driving very, very well. Greg Steer, his dad, the man behind West Race Cars Australia, and they've been very, very successful since their formation 5 or 6 years ago now. Quite some time in the marketplace. They've sold plenty of cars. We do understand that Winslow will be back for the next round of the series at Sydney Motorsport Park, so we're looking forward to seeing that. He's going to be a real challenge up against Roger Ianson, who's come as a long way as a driver in the first 2 rounds of the Sports Racer Series this year.
Boy, oh boy, hasn't he ever. He has been charging away from the field. So the couple of brands of cars that are represented here, the West, as it says right down the side of that West out there at the moment. Then there's the Store. And we've also got Phil Hughes debuting in the Radical, which was an interesting story as well, Richard, with a car that he bought with Alan Simonson.
Yeah, he was great mates and with the late, great Alan Simonson, who tragically lost his life at Le Mans a year ago to this weekend. And Phil and he bought this car just to have some fun with a couple of years ago. And after Alan passed, Phil decided that they'd keep the car and he'd be able to cut some laps in it. So he's racing very much in tribute to his mate Alan Simonson. It's just his second ever run in the car, so he's got very limited laps as a driver, but he's doing a good job improving his time, getting up to speed and racing some pretty competitive guys in the Sports Racer Series. You can see how much room Proctor is using. There is Phil in the 42 car. It's a Radical SR3. Bought this car out of the Denmark Radical Series over in Europe and imported it to Australia. See the P plate on the back showing a limited level of experience, but this is a guy that runs racing and road car Ferraris for a living, repairs them, rebuilds them, restores them, so he knows his way around a race car or two.
You can see how fastidious he is about race cars. This car is prepared to within a millimetre of its life. Just looks fantastic, and that's how he's done it with the Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Porsches and all Super Tours, everything he's got in his shed down in Braeside in Melbourne. Over the shoulder now, this is Adam Proctor, car number 1, the champion from 2013. And boy, they accelerate out of the corner so hard, these things. They really do. There's so much grip, aero grip, mechanical grip. They just tend to bounce around a little bit on the straights there. If there's any sort of undulation at all on the track, they really spot it out. We just see the cars start to bobble on their wheelbase.
These cars run similar specs. They are built, of course, by different manufacturers, the West and the Store, but the Store in particular running the Suzuki GSX-R 1000 engine, about 165 horsepower at the rear wheels, but they weigh about 400 kilos. They've got a lot of downforce, a lot of aero grip, and it really is that old Formula One theory. You find a tunnel smooth enough with a nice enough roof, you could drive these things upside down. They've got that much downforce, and they are very, very fast racing cars.
Andrew McGuinness now screaming up the old straight here at Winton, down into turn 3. I like the mirrors mounted in the guard vents there, so every bit of aero is just taken full advantage. There's not a set of mirrors hanging up in the air.
It's very Le Mans prototype, speaking of Le Mans 24 Hour, isn't it, that car?
Yep.
Looks superb. He's done a good job this weekend. Obviously races the Audi with Dean Koutsoumides in Australian GT, the Equity 1 racing car, but this weekend jumping into the West for the first time, and he has been right on the pace. Very impressive debut in the category. Qualified third at a 21.2, less than a second off the pace of Roger Ianton's 20.3 record-setting pole lap. And the lap record has fallen in the first 2 races this weekend as well, with Adam Proctor setting a 20.49 in race 1, and then Ianton a 20.2 in the lead of race 2.
And if anyone knows the Winton lap records around here, that is rapid. That is the upper echelon of Australian motorsport around the Winton layout. We've got the battle here now with Michael Whiting, who has driven very well this weekend. A guy that really enjoys his motorsport. You've got to say a gentleman racer, and does like to mix it up when he can.
Whoa, trouble on the inside at turn 10. It's John Paul Drake who was putting the pressure on there in that battle for 6th and 7th position. Just had a big moment going into turn 10, the left-hander at the end of the old back straight, and almost lost the rear of that car, but managed to get it gathered up and drove on.
Onto the straight now. Scream of the 997cc power plant on board.
Actually, I think it was the 33 that had the moment, so this is that fight. Have a look at this. Gets it turned in, but maybe a little bit early, and just lost the rear, but
he's lucky he didn't do any floor damage there. These cars have got the flat floor on them. He put it right over the ripple strip. Yep, rear lock up over he went.
It was Whiting, the Taylor Collision West. So John Paul Drake was in front of that battle. They've been swapping positions during this race, so it's been a very competitive little fight. And here they are still locked together, the 56 and the 33, side by side, up the inside, making amends for the half lose before. Michael Whiting gets that position away, so nice drive.
Fighting it out for 5th and 6th, outright in this race, these two. And getting a lot of bang for buck out there at the moment. A race-long battle.
Lots of confidence under brakes in these cars with the aero that they've got, but they stop so well. They've got big brakes, 6-piston calipers on the front. They stop so well, and they weigh so little. These things really do literally stop on a dime. They are unbelievable cars.
Michael Whiting in turn 10 that time took extra room. In fact, he missed the apex by about a metre. He was being that careful not to get over the back of the ripple strip, and I dare say the ripple strip is the enemy of these cars.
Well, these are about as close to an open wheeler as you get. These are single-seat race cars with a body. They're a bit like a cross between a Formula 3 and a Formula Ford. Down the inside, a little bit too late on the brakes to get a move there for John Paul Drake, but had a look and had a go. These cars run a steel sort of space frame chassis, but it's reinforced with carbon fibre. So it really is a hybrid of the tubular steel spec Formula Ford and the carbon fibre tub wings and slicks open wheel. As you see, it really is somewhere in the middle. Lightweight body hanging over the top. And take the body off, these things do look a lot like a wings and slicks open wheeler. Here's Ianson continuing to lead, but it's been a good drive from Proctor. You got to wonder, Daz, if Adam Proctor hadn't have had that off in race 1, whether this weekend would have turned out any differently.
Well, this is the National Series. You don't get number 1 to put on your nose cone and on your end plates and your wing for no reason. Proctor can clearly drive the car, and that issue early on the weekend has just resulted in a weekend-long battle to get to the front. Roger Ianson's quick, so he's got to that second place. It's a matter of getting onto Roger now and making a move. And I've got to say that Roger hasn't used a lot of tyre. He's led the races. He's sort of run away and hid from the rest of the field as far as this weekend has been concerned. But now he can see that Proctor's there. I dare say a little bit, there'll be a bit of vibration through those mirrors there, but he would know that silver and black and bright green car is well and truly in fire.
Roger, a second-generation driver. His dad, Ken, very experienced racer in sports sedans, pre-production and the like in South Oz especially. Runs an exhaust shop up in the Riverland in South Australia. He's a great driver. He's been very impressive, and he swept the weekend at Winton. He takes out round 2 of the Australian Sports Racer Series, this time under immense pressure from Adam Proctor. Gee, the return of Winslow potentially at the next round. These two going at it for the lead. It could be a very, very feisty third round of the series. Keep your eye on the Sports Racer social media and website for upcoming news on the series. Ianson wins from Proctor, Steer third, Barlow fourth. That good battle between Drake and Whiting settled for 5th and 6th. Phil Hughes rounding out the finishes.
So when you get 3 from 3, you've got to be happy. What do you put it down to have got a clean sweep?
I think it comes back to car preparation. We had a lot of reliability all weekend. It enabled me just to focus on my driving, and yeah, the results sort of came.
Second place, consistent all weekend, but it was really good to see you chasing him hard at the end there.
Yeah, there was nothing in that last race. He got that second gap at the start, and it pretty much stayed that way the whole race. I think, after lap 2 he had the gap, and that's where it all stayed. I peg him back a 10th, he'd peg a 10th back there. He's fast. You can't give him that much time at the start, so we need to work on that part.
Starts are crucial in this category when it's so even. Roger Ianson builds the lead at the top of the series, but you can't help but think that for the rest of the year it will be Ianson v Proctor, and then I guess it's a battle to see who else can get close to the two of them. An exciting second round of the Sports Racer Series here at Winton Motor Raceway. They'll be back at Sydney Motorsport Park, as we will, for the Shannon's Nationals. Round 5, head to thenationals.com.au for more information. That round coming your way very soon. On behalf of our entire team, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time we go racing with the Shannon's Nationals. Jams it down the inside. That's a huge move. Right on the ragged edge of getting it stopped. And he swept the weekend at Winton. He takes out round 2 of the Australian Sports Racer Series, this time under immense pressure from Adam Proctor. Stick around after the break. We go drag racing with the Fuchs Winter Nationals at Willowbank Raceway, featuring Pro Stock and Pro Stock Motorcycle. We'll be right back.